Welcome to this episode of Teaching AE. We looked last time at how we could bring in video and edit it and make clips. This time we're going to be doing something slightly different. We're going to show you the other fundamental bit of After Effects, which is setting keyframes. We've got a comport set up just like last time. Now what we need to do is we need to create a shape. So if you select the square at the top and click and hold on it and choose the ellipse tool. Okay, so now in that space, just draw a circle. If you hold down shift, it'll draw a perfect circle. Otherwise, it'll just be a ellipse.
Just anywhere on here?
Yeah.
Okay. Ooh. Okay.
Cool. So that's what's called a shape layer. Now, that same tool we could have been using, if we had a layer selected, we could have drawn a mask on it. But a shape layer is a really, really quick way of us getting a shape. You can do various things, and we'll probably do a full-on tutorial later on about that. If you see on the side, we've got it down here in the timeline, we've got it labeled shape layer and ellipse 1. If you expand ellipse 1, just because we're in here, we may as well. And if you expand fill 1, you can set its color and you can change its stroke as well.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Now, because we've used a shape layer, and every layer has both an anchor point and a position. If you expand transform ellipse, we'll then get into the meat of it once we've done this little bit of tidying. But if you expand that one, and zero everything out. So just click into where it says position -126 and hit the 0 key. And do the same for the 8. Now, the reason we've done that... Yeah, that's all you need to do. The reason we've done that is because a shape layer wasn't necessarily in the center of the shape's coordinates, of the entire layer's coordinates. So, if you now collapse where it says contents...
Yeah.
And expand where it says transform. So what we've got in transform, these are the coordinates of our circle, of our shape layer inside the comp, inside that whole space. So its anchor point is not, I think we want to zero those out. Now if you were dragging in an image, and maybe we could have started with an image of a ball instead, then you wouldn't have to worry about doing all of this. This stuff would be sorted out. There's a really neat trick though that we can do to make sure this is perfectly in the center. First off, if you click on that icon,
this one,
and choose title and action safe. So in the days of SD and people had curvy corners on tellies, you wouldn't want to necessarily have text or action outside some of these boxes. These days with web video and, it doesn't really matter. But what it also gives us is center lines, as you can see in the middle and in the middle of the edges.
Right.
So you can see it's not perfectly centered. So you could grab the shape layer and drag it by eye into there, but a much, much easier way is After Effects can do some maths for us. So you see in the position where it says 833.8. Click in there and type 1920, which is the width of the composition, divided by 2. And hit enter. Oh, yeah. So it's perfectly now centered it horizontally. And we can do the same at 1080 divided by 2 for its y coordinate.
Divided by 2.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool. Now, all of these things can have expressions on, and we'll get into the programming side much, much later on. But it is quite a handy little way you can very quickly center something if you need to. So, next thing to do is let's make sure the select tool is selected, the arrowy thing. And let's start moving our circle around the screen. Any property in After Effects that can be keyframed, in other words, have one keyframe on one part and then a few moments later in the timeline you can set it to have another value. Any value in After Effects that has a little stopwatch next to it. So to set a keyframe, all you have to do is click the stopwatch.
This stopwatch?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Now, a couple of things have appeared. If you move the current time indicator just off the 0, you see we've got a blue diamond. That's the highlighted keyframe that we're looking at. And we've also got these switches here that let you jump backwards and forwards. So if you click the left arrow now, the time indicator jumps back.
Okay.
So move to about 10 seconds in the timeline. Doesn't have to be exact. And grab hold of your circle and put it somewhere else in the screen.
Just drag it. Oh, yeah. Oh, okay.
So, if you now go back to 0 seconds and hit 0 on the keypad.
Go back to 0 and hit 0.
That will preview. Doesn't preview the audio, just previews the video playing through. And over the course of 10 seconds, that's the animation you've done. There's loads more we can do here, though. So, obviously, now that's going, if you stop that,
how do I stop
just
it again?
click anywhere.
Oh.
Or you can click 0.
Okay.
So, that's obviously taking 10 seconds and is moving quite slow. See what happens if you get the second keyframe and drag it to about 2 seconds instead.
Just,
Yeah.
Okay, drag it.
Yeah. And now play it back from 0.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. So, a couple of extra things I want to point out here. Because we've moved them really close, do you see that the line that we're seeing the path it's taking is made up of little dots?
These dots.
Yeah, that's a speed indicator. So at about 10 seconds again, let's put in a third position. Let's grab that circle and move it somewhere else on the screen. Ideally quite far.
Okay.
What it's doing there is it's going to take a very short amount of time to go from 0 to 2. And so each of those is sort of the in-between keyframes. And then it's going to take a whole 8 seconds to go from 2 to 3. Each of those is an in-between keyframe area. And so After Effects is showing you where it's going to be making those calculations for each frame of the comp.
Okay. So if I move that up, they would move apart.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Okay. Now, the other thing to show you on here is if you select keyframe 1 again, just in the timeline, click on it. There you see suddenly Bezier handles appear. And if you click on keyframe 2, you'll see it will have 2 because it's going in 2 different places. And those are those little blue dots. So now if you click and drag on those dots, you can change the angle that it's going to move through.
This?
Yeah.
Here. Ah, okay. Oh, okay.
Yeah, no, keep going to make it quite extreme. So it's now not going from A to B to C or keyframe 1 to 2 to 3 in a linear fashion. It's now going to loop through in a curve. And if you go back to 0 and preview that and see what that looks like. So we're already getting some, some more natural movement, although, yeah, it sort of slows down and speeds up on that middle one. We can do various little things. One trick I quite like is if you select all 3 keyframes, so click and drag a box around them. Yeah. And then right click on them.
Right click.
Yeah, on any one of them. And we've got a whole bunch of things we can do with keyframes. We can edit their values. We can set them, let's try this for right now, set them to toggle hold keyframe and then preview it back and see what it does. So it stays there and then it jumps. So a hold keyframe will hold that value until it comes to another keyframe.
Right.
So there are plenty of times when you might want to use that sort of thing. Control Z to undo that for the moment. Or we could have right click and chosen toggle hold keyframe. If you right click again, we've got various other things we can do. Keyframe interpolation, if you've got them set in a fancy one and you want to just reset it, that's quite a good way of doing that. If you click on keyframe assistant, then we've got easy ease, and easy ease in and out. What they do is they slow down the speed of the keyframe animation. If you want to play that back now.
Hold on, why have I got these now?
That's sorry, I didn't point that out. The icon changes to show that they are set to easy ease.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. It's slowing down into it and then it speeds up and slows down. So it's not ideal. So if you right click on them now.
Right.
And choose Rove across time. After Effects will now do its best. You see how all the dots have evened out?
Yeah.
Now try playing it back. So it's much more even.
Yeah.
Now, delete our keyframe. So go back to 0 seconds. And we're going to do a different animation now. Now, the quickest way, you can highlight each one individually and hit the delete key, or you can click the stopwatch, which will turn off the keyframes with the current property that the timeline is at. So if you turn them off here, the ball will be in the center. If you turn them off after 9 seconds, it would be where the 9-second point was. So let's drag this up to the top of the screen.
Drag this.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, now while you're dragging, if you hold the shift key, it will go only in X or Y directions. So if you...
Oh, I see.
Yeah. So yeah, that's great. Let's set a keyframe. And about 1 second later, drag it down to the bottom of the screen as if it's a ball falling. And make sure you go beyond, ever so slightly beyond the bottom.
Beyond?
Yeah, up a bit, I was sort of thinking there. Because what we'll do is, why don't we have it deform, and we'll alter the scale.
Okay.
And then we'll have it bounce back. So before we do that, now let's bring it over to about the 3-second mark and have it bounce back. Probably an exaggeration. So have it jump up halfway or something like that. Yeah, and you could have it come off center ever so slightly if you wanted to. Let's go back to the 1 second keyframe. Yeah.
Can I just click it?
You can click, and if you hold shift while dragging, it will snap to the keyframe.
Right.
And it'll snap to any joints or anything that you've got there. So that's where it's impacted. So what we need to do is go a couple of frames before it goes off the edge of the screen, if that's going to be the ground. And to do that, use the page up key to go 1 frame backwards. Page down will go 1 frame forwards. Okay, so now let's set a keyframe for scale. And let's uncheck the infinity symbol. So that's that one there. That's saying that we're going to, if we set the width to 80%, the height would be 80%. But actually we want to squash it out, don't we? Let's go forward 2 frames. Now set the height to say 60%, which is the second one.
60.
And let's give that mass somewhere to have gone. So set the width to 120%. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then we're going to have this bounce back pretty quick. So go about 3-4 frames further ahead. Okay. Now, what we could do is retype in 100 and 100. Mm-hmm. Or you can select the first keyframe. Don't move the timeline indicator. Just click on the first scale keyframe.
Oh.
You can zoom in a bit if you want to see it using the mountain zoom. There we go. And now you can do Control-C to copy it. And now Control-V to paste it into the same. Just Control-V.
Anywhere?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Play back and see what you've got.
Okay.
And that is keyframes in a nutshell.